Okay. Welcome everyone to the Dallas ISD Bond 2020 community meeting for the DeGolyer Replacement School. We'll be starting in a few minutes. We're letting a few more people join us. So please, thank you for joining us. We're going to let a few more people, and we'll be starting the meeting in about a minute or so. But thank you so much for joining us this evening. Again, welcome to tonight's Dallas ISD Bond 2020 Design Charrette and Community Listening Session for the Replacement School for Everett DeGolyer Elementary School. We're excited to have everyone join us today. If you're joining us on the Zoom call, we ask that you remain on mute, but there will be an opportunity through online polling, and through polling on your cell phone to participate. And when it's a question and answer, you can to submit your questions in the chat room, or if you go look at the lower right-hand corner of your screen, you will see a reactions button, and there you'll be able to raise your hand, and we will allow you to go off mute in order to make your comments at that time. If you're joining us via Facebook Live, we welcome you as well, and you can certainly submit your comments as comments on our Facebook Live post. We will be sharing the link for those polling apparatus so you too can participate in tonight's polls. I'm going to pause now for our interpreter to give instructions on how to participate in Spanish. Go ahead, Jesus.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Hola, buenas noches, familia. En un momento vamos a comenzar la interpretación esta noche. Si usted desea escuchar la reunión en español, por favor, pase a la parte inferior de su pantalla y busque el icono del mundo. Ahí va a seleccionar el idioma español. Si por algún motivo no nos puede escuchar, por favor, seleccione el inglés y regrese al español. Si aún tiene dificultades para escucharnos, por favor, déjenos saber en el chat. También la función de interpretación solo es compatible con iPhones, iPads, tabletas o teléfonos inteligentes, más no con las computadoras Chromebook. Así que, por favor, use alguno de los otros aparatos que mencioné. Y espero que disfruten la reunión. Gracias. All right, I'm ready, Ms. Bell.
Thank you so much. And again, we welcome you tonight for tonight's meeting. This is an exciting opportunity for Dallas ISD to share the designs and hear from the community about the design of one of our new campuses. As with all of our campuses, but certainly during these difficult times we've been facing during the pandemic, we salute all of our campus-based leadership teams for keeping things going and making sure that our students are learning during difficult times. With that being said, it's my pleasure now to introduce the principal of this amazing campus, Mr. Carter. Go ahead, Mr. Carter.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank everyone for taking time out to meet with us tonight to discuss our new school building. I know as a community, we're super excited. All the work that's been put in thus far is greatly appreciated. As we take this next step in our journey, your voice is important. And so we want to make sure that we voice our opinions about what our community will look like in our school. Thank you. And with that, back to Ms. Bell.
Thank you again. And thank you for everything you do, not just every day, to ensure that our students are learning and performing at the highest level. We appreciate everything that you do. Now, this school is fortunate to have an amazing representative on the Dallas ISD School Board, who is our longest serving, I believe, trustee, who is an advocate for every school in Dallas ISD, especially those in his district. And I'm speaking of none other than Trustee Flores. Trustee Flores, would you care to make remarks at this time?
Yes, thank you. I'll be very brief. I mean, my kids attended DeGolyer, so there's also a special place in my heart for DeGolyer. And I just want to, again, thank everyone for participating. Thank the staff for being here and being able to share ideas and receive the input. This is my third meeting for the 2020 bond in the second round. We've already met with Marcus, and we had a meeting with Withers, and now we're meeting with with DeGolyer to get input on the project. And, you know, we want to make sure that you're heard loud and clear. This school is going to be there for a very long time, at least 50 or 60 years. We want to think big. We want to think bold. We want to think innovative. We want to think long-term, and we want to be a good member of our community and build a fantastic facility that's going to serve, you know, a couple more generations of kids. And finally, I want to thank the voters and the taxpayers for making this possible. It's thanks to this $3 billion bond that we're getting a new school at DeGolyer and elsewhere in District 1 and throughout the school district. So we're very excited about this, and I will turn it back to Ms. Bell. Thank you.
Thank you again, Trustee Flores, for joining us for tonight, and not just tonight, but for everything you do for students and families across Dallas ISD. You're truly appreciated. Trustee mentioned the amount of this bond, but this is a historic bond program in that it is the largest bond in the history of the state of Texas. And one of the commitments we've had is about transparency and making sure that we hear the voice of the community and of our families and stakeholders throughout this process. This bond is being led by none other than our Deputy Chief of Bond and Construction Services, Brent Alfred. Mr. Alfred, take it over.
Well, thank you, Ms. Bell, and thank you, DeGolyer community. We're really enjoying this process. You know, I'm an architect and builder by heart, and a part of the theme of this bond is really to engage with this community and do collaboration. And we're getting that out of this process. You guys, a great team. AECOM is our project manager, and Keiko is our architect of record, who has a great presentation to show you guys. There's going to be some polling in between it. So get ready to interact with us. And at the end of this presentation, we'll come back and we're going to open it up to some Q&A. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Roberto Diaz to take us through the presentation.
Hi, thank you, Brett. Good evening. We've got some exciting stuff to show everybody, let's get started. First, we want to do a real quick recap of the imagery and decisions that have been made in the first few charrettes, just to kind of get everybody on the mind frame of what we presented previously. You know, here we're seeing some of the imagery that the community responded well to on our first charrette, going to that kind of more modern look for the facility. You go to the next. And then looking at kind of the wordles that we did through the polling for the style of the school and the vocabulary, I guess, that the community was identifying with the school. And you can see which ones are more important: the modern style, mid-century feel to it, and something that's responsive and scaled towards the neighborhood. You go next. Big idea for this school, we really emphasize collaborative spaces and the ability to have flexible spaces throughout the building. Here on the charrette number 2, we had presented some different options for possible looks for the school and design ideas for the concepts that we're generating. You can see several different ideas that were presented for the cafeteria area, the entry options, STEAM classrooms, and then the media centers imagery that was selected by the community. And this is a very early massing concept of the building, showing, generally speaking, where those functions were going to be located. As you'll see in the next following slides, this has evolved as concepts do, and everything is kind of an evolution of what we have been building with your input. You'll notice on this concept right here, we had the school faced towards Dartmoor. Through the last presentation, it became clear the school wanted to maintain the flare address. So we've had meetings with the city of Dallas, and you'll see how that's had us affected the design and the siting of the school on the site in order to maintain that flare address that was important to the community. So with that, we'll enter into the schematic design presentation in earnest. So let's go to the next slide, please. What you'll see here is the conceptual site plan. You'll notice the The school is still on the north side of the site, where the current playfields are located. In order to maintain the flare address, we had to generate the drives that connect the school back to Flare Drive. We did this through a series of discussions with the city of Dallas and what their requirements would be. As such, this is going to end up being a phased construction. So at the beginning of construction, the site will be sectioned off so that the contractors can build the school on the north side of the school. We'll probably end up with some temporary drives while once the school is completed, you'll have some temporary drives for a period of time while the existing school, which is towards the front of the site, closer to Flare, is demolished and the work is completed. As you can see, part of what we heard the community say, they wanted better access to the community garden. So we moved it up front so that there's access to it from when school's not in session. So it's not closed off by the school. It's actually further up front for the community to enjoy. And you see what you see here is the landscaping concept. What you're seeing here are mature trees. Obviously, when it gets first built, you'll get the smaller trees planted. So this is a couple of years out as the landscape gets a chance to grow and mature. The thought here is you're coming off a Flare Drive with an entry path that does the carpool lanes and then circulates back onto Flare. And then you have pedestrian access through the middle with a long processional walkway, if you may, and you'll see a couple of views here. To the left, you have the community garden, kind of a structured garden space with plantings and the smaller garden beds for the community in more of a structured manner. And then on the rest of the site, the idea is to have more of a natural type landscaping. If we go to the next view, this is a view from the other side, from the north side of the property. So you're looking at playfields and playgrounds, cafeteria spaces, the building, and then looking on south towards Flare Drive. So go to the next, please. So as I mentioned, that processional, this is the initial view. And what we'll do here is we've generated a couple of options for you guys to look at. And then we'll have several options of different elements of the design for the community to select which ones they like best and which direction they would like to take this design. So bear with me, it'll be a little bit repetitive, but it's two different designs that we're presenting. Option A, again, as you're walking through from Flare Drive to the school, this is the walkway as you go through, a series of sidewalks and then landscape areas and patched areas that connect the school to Flare, which actually take a little bit of the cues from the existing building on the floor plan view. So what you're seeing, those steps and changes in elevation correspond to where the old building was. So it's kind of a little bit of a nod of what used to be on the site. To the right here that you don't see, there'll be a brand new monument sign that greets people as they walk onto the site. You go to the next. As you arrive closer to the school, you're seeing the parent drop-off lane, and we're funneling everybody towards an open courtyard in order to enter the school. So once you arrive, you're kind of greeted by this green space in between the buildings, if you may, that then leads you into the entrance of the school. To the left, you see one of the concepts for the gymnasium, a more colorful concept for the Gymatorium storm shelter space. And then front and center, what you see on the second floor is the media center for the school. And then off to the right, you see the classroom wings. If you go to the next slide. Same view, looking more closely at the media center on the second floor, the carpool lane canopy to provide some shading and protection for kids as they're dropped off and picked up from vehicles. And then off to the left, you see the concept massing of that gymnasium storm shelter space. In this view, you're seeing the classroom wing. What we're looking at is, all the classrooms are in this one wing. So you have kind of a private and more public sections to the school. The exterior is accentuated by a masonry base, and then up above a accent cladding to give it a little bit more texture to the school. The windows in this concept, you'll notice on this one and following concept renderings, accentuate the vertical movement of the school. And there's an opportunity to do some accent colors in some of the spandrel that you see between the windows into the classrooms. You go to the next. Now you're looking at a view on the backside of the school. Again, you're seeing the classroom wing with the series of windows and claddings with the masonry base on the bottom. And then on the background, you're seeing a view into what is the proposed cafeteria spaces, which would open up into the playground, play structures, the informal play areas, and then the basketball courts. A close-up view of that area, looking from the through the basketball court, you see the playgrounds, and you'll notice as you look through, you can see almost all the way through the school. So that connector between those volumes right now, we're thinking is very open, mostly glass in a lot of cases, so that you almost have this transparency between the front and the back of the school. You'll notice in the background, you see the concept of the media center towards the back of the building. And then this is a view from the park that's adjacent to the school, looking towards that gym auditorium building. It also serves as the storm shelter. So here we're doing a play with the school colors. So the idea is to take the school colors and select a couple of accent blues to accentuate that, and then some accent colors to really offset the design and make it a real lively element on the site. Now going back, we're going to repeat the same views that we just looked at, and this is different concepts. So as you arrive to the site-wise, we still have the same processional with the cues that we talked about for the existing building. But you'll notice in the background, the school itself, the architecture, the way we're cladding the building has changed and is somewhat varied. So if you go to this one, you see to the left, we have the auditorium space with all masonry construction, doing some patterns on the walls themselves with the way we're coursing the masonry to provide some accents, and you'll see some more of that here in a little bit. In the middle, you see the media center with a big bank of windows facing Flair Drive, and the idea is that you'll have those windows kind of going all the way through that media center space into the school and looking kind of towards the back of the school with a different type of cladding on that element. Below that, again, the same, you have the administrative spaces, and you're still greeted through that courtyard to enter the school. The furthest to the right, you see the massing of the classrooms in more of a masonry clad all the way through with punched openings that pick up the rhythm of the classroom spaces that they're serving. A different view here of the proposed media center volume with the administration on the bottom, and then you can see the gymnasium auditorium to the left, and you can start to pick up some of the interesting things we can do with that masonry. We're proposing to incorporate perhaps some of the school mascot theme on that wall and kind of make it part of the building as part of the way the masonry is expressed on the building. Here you're looking at the classroom wing, again, more of an all masonry construction, and then we have the opportunity to pull some of those accent stripes in the masonry through the way we're coursing the masonry itself. and then grouping the classroom windows with the, accent window sills. And again, highlighting more the horizontal nature of the building rather than kind of pulling that vertical element like the other option did. The back of the school, looking towards, again, the cafeteria, you see to the left the classroom wing itself with the playgrounds in the background in the open fields. Same view looking through the cafeteria spaces. You see the classrooms, and then you see in the background the media center space. And then the view of the gymatorium space, storm shelter. What you're seeing here, the idea is everything is part of what we're doing with the masonry. So you have a big masonry construction, but with the way we're coursing it, we're highlighting some stripes to give it a base and tablature to the building. And then we have the ability to incorporate different designs on the face of the building. In this case, we're pursuing the mascot, the dolphins, for DeGolyer. So with that, we'll do the polls for the different options that you'll see here shortly. So we'll stay here for a second, and just so that everybody can take a look at the instructions for it. So if you want to go to the next slide, Edgar. So looking specifically at the media center, the way we designed the school, we have interchangeable parts to allow the community to kind of tell us what they like in one or the other. And, we could interchange these options to reflect what you guys are looking at. On option A, for the media center, we have that masonry box kind of floating above the administrative spaces with a series of punched openings that create a different pattern along the side of the building. Views in this option are directed towards the courtyard. So it's more of an internal type feel to the media center. In order to maximize daylight for this option, we're also proposing a series of clear story windows above it to allow additional natural light to go into that volume. In option B, the idea is to make this almost a transparent north and south windows. So you've got floor to ceiling glass on both ends of the volume. You're looking, this option removes the clear story because we have so much glass on either end. And this one actually kind of, if you notice, it kind of opens the view more towards flare out to that processional as you come into the school, and then it opens the views back into the back of the building as well. So with that, we'll go to the next slide, which is the poll. And we'll give this a couple of minutes to let everybody vote on what they see and which ones they prefer.
If you're joining us on Facebook, the poll information has been posted as comments. So please go to the comment section and click on the link, or you can also text. The text number is there as well, so it has been included in comments. We look forward to hearing from you as far as your preferences on this particular portion of the school. And if you're unable to access them on Facebook, or you would like to, you can also make comments. We encourage you to make comments in the chat room and on Facebook, comments regarding what you feel as far as the options that have been presented so far. And right now we're focusing on the Media Center.
It looks like they might be having issues with the voting. Let me see if I can look into that.
Okay. Thank you for sharing about the issues. We're having some technical issues with the poll. In the meantime, if you would like to just share. Okay. It's saying that we have an error message there. We're trying to work on that. In the meantime, if you would like to share in the chat, if you're on our Zoom call. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Swafford. Great. Right now, according to the comments we're getting, it seems as though option A is the overall favorite so far from the comments we're getting in the chat space. Thank you, Ms. Strain. We think they're pretty awesome as well. We have a comment that said, for the record, they are both pretty awesome. So thank you so much for that comment.
It looks like polling is now open, but for some reason it's not doing a live update in the slide. But okay. I can read the results.
Fantastic. So we have corrected the technical issue on the polls. You can participate in the poll now online and both through texting. And reading the chat again, A is breaking ahead.
Yes, A is at 88% right now.
Right.
We only have 8 in so far.
Okay. One of the comments we're getting through the chat is that I love that giant glass wall, and that teal gym is just stunning. So that's one of the comments that we have.
Well, Roberto, just to clarify, it's just the media center right now, not the gym portion they're voting on?
Yeah, we're looking at the media center itself.
Okay, just to be clear, we're voting on the building to the right. Even though we love that teal wall, we're meeting with the media center, which is the one to the right. So the options there would be a more solid brick wall with the school name on it, or one that has the glass wall with the architectural details with the broad window.
Correct.
So those are the choices right now. We will be going through piece by piece, so hold on to that one. We will get to the gym.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Edgar, is voting still going on the poll, or should we move on?
It looks like it stopped. We have 9 results in, 89% option A. So we can move on to the next.
Okay, great.
Let's be clear right here. So we're saying that option A, just to make sure everyone's, the option that we're seeing that's polling well is the solid brick, option A, which is the solid brick wall with the school name on it. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, it looks like some changed to B, so A dropped down to 80%.
Okay, we want to make sure, we know we had a little bit of issues with the poll. So let's give it a few more minutes to make sure that everyone knows what they're voting on. Option B is the broad glass wall with the cross beams here. And option A is the solid brick wall with the school name. So if you want to comment, if you're having difficulty getting into the polling device, please just comment in that space. There we go. Perfect.
I guess I just had to click on the slide for it to activate.
There we go. Oh, the gap is closing.
We're neck to neck now.
We're neck to neck now. And again, if you're on Facebook Live, you can give your preference either as a comment, or you can use the poll. The links and the text information has been shared on Facebook as well. Okay, we do have a comment here that says, I love the glass. The current school is very dark, so I love getting all that natural light in, and that would be option B.
Ms. Bell, question.
Yes. Uh-oh, we're 50-50.
For the glass, is that the media center?
Yes.
Yes.
So the light would be shining just in the media center.
Correct. That's correct. Am I right about that, architect?
Yes, the idea is to get the look of the media center. Edgar, if you can kind of point at what the media center is, just so everybody can look at it. So it's this element that's being highlighted right now. Oh, there we go.
Okay. Another comment, option A has some glass as well, just in a different view. View 2A shows several windows.
Yes, there is a good bit of glass, and like I said, the only difference that we're doing is is the way we're directing the views. This one's directing the views more towards the courtyard, whereas the other one is directing the views north and south to Flare in the other in Dartmoor on the north.
Okay.
Like I said, option B does have more storefront glass, if you may, but we are incorporating clear story windows to draw in natural light on option A.
Okay. Now we do have a question. Is that with the lighting there, can we address the glare of all that southern light in option B? So are we facing in option B, we're faced with that, the window in option B be facing the south?
Yes, it would be, and we would definitely be looking at some sort of treatment to minimize any glare, whether it's window treatments or looking at perhaps incorporating some sort of shading device on that phase.
Okay. Another comment I think I like that giant glass wall, but the white side feels in my face. If that makes sense. If you want to go ahead, Ms. Spofford, to go off mute and share your comments and thoughts, you can do so at this time.
I was just saying, I like the in and out, the north-south of that glass from Flare up to Sonnet, but the view 2B where it shows like that white side, that just kind of feels bright and stark and strong, versus for me, A feels like lots of windows, lots of light is going to be in the media center. The kids are going to have plenty of sunlight to read their books, but it also is like DeGolyer, like in big letters, and because we're proud of our school, and it just felt like, to me, the best combo of the light and the proud of the school name and culture.
Okay, great.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. These have all been amazing comments. And unfortunately, design team, your concepts are so fabulous. The community is tied 50-50 on which one they prefer. So I guess great.
Can you make sure that's poll is updated, Edgar? I want to make sure that.
Yes, it's at 14 results in right now, 50-50.
Okay.
So you guys did such an amazing job with the designs that when it goes to check. Okay, Principal Carter, we see you.
We'll leave it. I don't know who's the tiebreaker.
Well, you know what? We'll come to that later on.
Yeah.
So if you want to go on to the next view, I think we've discussed the media center pretty well. Yeah. Okay. Oh, someone said that Principal Carter will be the tiebreaker. That's what one of the community members said.
So looking at the classroom wing options, we have the option A and option B. Option A for the classroom ring, we have the masonry base with the accent cladding going up the building, accentuating the vertical nature of the design with the way the windows are placed and structured. And it gives us the opportunity to do a little bit of accent colors in the panels that you see between the glazing. Option B to the right is an all masonry option with punched openings. Gives us the opportunity to, in this option, we're accentuating more the horizontal nature of the design, and we'll have the opportunity to do accents with the way we're doing the brick cladding on the building. So with that, if we want to go back to the poll. And Edgar, just make sure that it's working, I guess.
We do have a.
Looks like all right. Well, looks like we're live.
We're live then. We do have one question in the comments. Okay, a couple of questions coming through. One, I am slightly concerned that the first floor classrooms look straight out onto the playground for recess. Kids will be out there a lot of the time, and it seems like a potential distraction for those kids who are still learning in class. So that's just one comment. They love the roof overhang in option A and the way the windows break up along the brick wall. And my 7-year-old, so Mr. Principal Carter, your kiddos are weighing in as well. One of your 7-year-old first graders says that he likes option A. So there we go.
Do it.
All right.
Okay, option A for sure in the chats. We're having option A popping up here. And it looks as though that's a solid winner there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
We give it a few
So do we
more-
have, Edgar, do we have everybody has voted on this?
I'm seeing 11 results on here. So it looks like it's up to date,
Okay.
both on the slide and on the web.
Okay. Would anyone like to share any other thoughts about this or comments or concerns? If you're on the chat, if you're on, of course, the Zoom meeting, you can just go off mute, unmute yourself and make any comments if you would like to share anything. What about that 7-year-old?
Well, he just went back to watching his show.
Oh, well, there you go.
He briefly came in and said he liked option A. I think the colors are really great in that one. I think it really breaks it up. Looks great.
Okay, great. Thank you. And tell him thank you so much for participating.
I will.
Yeah, some
Looks
color
like-
is preferred is another comment that came in.
Looks like everyone is in now, 14 results.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I think we have a very strong direction there. Okay.
All right. And then lastly, looking at the Gymatorium options, on option A, obviously this is a more colorful design, playing with a play of the colors of the school colors, creating a pattern on the building with some accent stripes just to really set off the colors. Option B is the all masonry option, where we're creating the patterns and the entrance with the way we're treating the masonry application itself. So if we want to move to the poll, yeah.
Okay, we have a question. What is the material for option A?
In option A, what we're looking at right now, and again, this is very conceptual. So we're still exploring a variety of materials. The concept that you're seeing right here, the thought is that the base itself for the gymatorium is masonry to tie back to the rest of the building. And then above that, it could either be a high performance coating, which is technical way of saying a really good paint on the building, or we could come back and look at the use of different types of rain screen or other type of panels to apply on the wall. So we're still exploring options. Obviously, as we work through the design in the budgets, it'll start to making those decisions. We'll start making those decisions.
And you said that on option B, the treatment with the dolphins, of course, the school's logo, mascot would be used with bricks, created using bricks, correct?
Yes, it's all masonry.
All masonry, fantastic.
So by the way you set the bricks in the wall, you start creating this almost, if you think about it, almost like a pixelated image that from a distance it starts to read like the dolphins, and that's what you're seeing on the concepts.
Wow, how clever. Now we have a couple of questions. I'm going to combine them into one here about windows. The question is to both design A and design B. Will the gymatorium have windows?
Unfortunately not, because it's serving as the storm shelter. So fortunately for us, the gymnasium itself and the auditorium functions, they kind of want a darker, kind of closed in space. But really, it's the storm shelter part of the function that really dictates minimizing the number of openings that we have into that space.
Okay, great. And another comment, I like the panel idea, but had a question, would be a little concerned about the colors fading over time. Is there just for that to be consideration, is that a consideration as far as the colors fading over time with the materials you would use?
It definitely is a consideration. Ultimately, all colors outside exposed to sunlight will fade, will change with time. What we're looking at in making our selections is make sure that we're selecting materials and colors that will resist the fading as much as possible. But what could see, 20 years down the line that yes, there is some maintenance and upkeep that needs to be, that would need to happen.
Okay. Now there's another question, and thank you, Mr. Cordova. We're glad you joined us this evening. The question is it possible to integrate the colors in option A, but include the dolphins in option B, to combine those two?
Yes, there is certainly we could certainly do something like that. Yes.
Okay, great.
And I think we would strongly consider doing something like that with either option. Yeah. So.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so here's another question about the classrooms being right up to next to the playground. Would it be possible to swap the sides, meaning putting the classrooms on the side opposite of the playground? And they're just in public spaces for the classroom spaces, left half for the right and right half for the left. So basically, the concern is with the distraction potentially of having a playground right outside of the windows for the classroom. So either could the playground spaces be swapped so that they're not right outside of the classroom?
That's something that we can study and see what we can do. We'll have, after this poll, we'll see we'll have the beginnings of a schematic floor plan. It's not in context with the site, but you'll see kind of the arrangement of the classrooms on those wings. But we'll note the concerns and make sure that we look into it.
Great. Now, is option B taller with higher ceilings, or are they the same basic size?
Option B ends up being a little bit taller, just the way we've expressed the architecture, but we are maintaining, certain clearances on the inside of the building. So the drive
would the interior ceilings be the same height in both options?
Yes, they would be.
Okay. So, Ms. Garcia, from the exterior, it would seem taller. The building itself would be taller, but the inside spaces with the ceilings would be the same height. A lot of people are liking the adding the dolphins in with the color, kind of doing a combination of the color with the dolphins. There are some suggestions to make sure that if you incorporate the colors and the dolphins, that they're kind of subtly done, so as not to be too overwhelming. And then someone asked, would it be possible to add color to the masonry materials? So I'm going to ask you, Ms. Blanks Butler, if you could go off mute and kind of enhance that one. I want to make sure we got the correct understanding of that question.
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by masonry. Do you mean bricks? Like
yes.
Oh, okay.
Right now we're looking at a king size brick is what it is. So it's larger than what you would see at your house.
So it wouldn't be able to be made colored. Understand that. That's what the question was about. But if it's a brick that's already made, it won't be able to be made colored already.
Correct.
Okay. So people are favoring incorporating the dolphins in some way. I think that what I'm seeing here, even though the polling is showing option A, from the comments, we're getting a little bit of a trending towards option A being the predominant style, but some way incorporating the dolphins in the design as well. is what I'm seeing from the comments, even though the poll itself may not be trending that direction.
And I think that's definitely something that we can incorporate into option A. So yes, that's very doable.
Okay, great. So does anyone else have any comments or questions you want to ask at this time? If so, you can place them in the chat, or you can go off mute and we'll be sure to come to you.
All right, like I mentioned earlier, I didn't know if there was a comment. I thought I heard someone say something.
No, we're good. Go ahead.
Okay. As I mentioned earlier, we've started working on the floor plans for the school. And as you'll see on the floor plan, Edgar, if you can help me by highlighting with your cursor, you're coming in through the courtyard and you see the double entry doors next to the administration. All of this would be configured to have that secured entry that's required. But as you come in, you're greeted by a collaborative space, the learning stair. So that'll be kind of front and center as you come into the school. And then you can see as you walk down the two different hallways closest to the cafeteria, you have music and arts classrooms. And then first floor, you have pre-K, kindergarten, first grade. And then towards the back of the school, closer to that other drive on the backside, you have the special education wing unit over back there. As you come up to the second floor, you have the media center with all the required classrooms and storage within it. And then you have all the second, third, fourth, and fifth grade classrooms and science labs. Through the middle core, you're seeing more support spaces, book storage, teachers' workrooms and storage spaces, elevator spaces, mechanical rooms, general circulation, and then gang restrooms for the kids, kind of bookending on either end of those hallways. What you see in the middle there, for both options, to bring some natural light within the school, we're kind of keeping an open atrium concept at this point. And the idea would be to put a clear story window up above on the roof to allow some natural light into that middle volume. And that creates another opportunity for some collaborative space kind of down in the middle between classrooms right there. If you go back to the main entrance, we've kind of segregated the classroom spaces from the more public spaces, if you may. So you come in through administration, and as you go down to the cafeteria and kitchen areas, that opens up into those areas, and you'll see a couple of real schematic sketches for those areas. And then the gymatorium space down that hallway. Thought right now is that we would be able to make a direct connection to the courtyard from that, so that if there's functions in the evening and stuff like that, you could have a set of doors unlocked right there and people could enter directly into that space. So with that, if we go to the next slide, which is the view, I believe, of the gymatorium, and just a conceptual, again, real conceptual image of it. So what you see, the sketch above, is the volume that's being created in this space. It's set up as an auditorium right now. You would have the stage on one end, it's a raised stage at the ends with the curtains, bringing perhaps some of that accent masonry on this concept into the proscenium wall to give it some interest, and then lining the sides of the wall with acoustical treatments that are appropriate for gymnasium use. So they're a little bit more heavy duty than what you would see in an auditorium. When it's in auditorium function, all the basketball goals and stuff would be retracted up, so they're kind of out of the way, out of sight, out of mind, hopefully. And then, yes, this would have all the complements of lights and audio system and all those accoutrements that are necessary for the auditorium function. What you see below is just some examples of different gymatoriums that have been built in other places. And you can see kind of some have the courts retracted, some have the basketball goals down, just kind of give you an idea of what these spaces tend to look like. But I think I like the design and the volume that's being created in this space, in that sketch. If you go to the next view, this is looking from essentially kind of that connector piece looking towards that learning stair as you're coming up. To the right, you see kind of that hallway that greets you with the storefront into the media center. So you have the media center kind of looking down onto these spaces. And then you have a view of kind of the hallways going down the sides to all the classrooms. And then on the bottom, again, different examples of other learning stairs that have been done elsewhere, to kind of give you a better idea of what these spaces tend to look like. And then lastly, a view from the back of the cafeteria, kind of looking out. Like we mentioned, we want to keep this kind of connection piece between the educational wing and the cafeteria wing feeling very open. So there's lots of glass. You're kind of seeing all the way down the school. You see the learning stair on the background. And in the cafeteria, we're pulling up the volumes to create a higher ceiling. We would come back into these spaces and make some sort of treatment on the ceiling to give it some additional interest. As you see on the images below, just doing different ceiling treatments, there's a possibility, depending on what we do, how we break up the space, to kind of create more accents and a little bit more color into this cafeteria space. And with that was the extent of our presentation. I hope everybody has enjoyed it, and we really appreciate your input.
Well, we have a lot of questions coming up, both in the chat, on the call, and from Facebook. Someone said they love the learning stairs and the general flow of everything. And we had a question about expanding upon what is a learning stair and what do you mean by that?
If you can go back to that image, really it provides the opportunity to have informal breakout sessions with students, or you could even have a presentation, so it's almost like a raised stage, if you may. So kids can be on those stairs. It's not only a circulation item, but it actually gives them the opportunity to do other things. So as you see here, you kind of see in the sketch that we generated, someone presenting something to the group of students that's sitting on the stairs. So that's what we mean by learning stair. It's just, it gives you the opportunity to have these kind of congregational spaces that can be used as breakout spaces or informal spaces for the teachers to use.
Wonderful. Now we do have a question about bathrooms. The bathrooms, per state and per ed specs, we do have bathrooms in the pre-K and kinder classrooms. Am I correct in that?
Yes, pre-K,
okay.
Kindergarten, and I believe first grade all have bathrooms in the classrooms. There's also a gang restroom that's located downstairs. We're looking at placing some restrooms closer to the cafeteria spaces and inside the storm shelter as well. And then on the second floor, there'll be gang restrooms for all the kids up there. And we have 2 sets of them right now.
Okay. We do have there are still concerns about the lack of a distinct auditorium space. And the question that goes along with that is, where does the music class take place, in orchestra? Is there a distinct space from that other than the auditorium? So is there a music room space in the school?
Yes, there is a dedicated music classroom, which is closest to the cafeteria auditorium area, just for ease of transportation, I guess, if you're moving from music to one of those auditorium spaces.
Okay, great. And there is ample storage for musical equipment, things for productions and things like that.
Yes, okay. there is ample storage. We actually have storage. We will have stage storage in the auditorium portion of the gymatorium, and we also have gym storage in the gymnasium portion of the gymatorium, as well as numerous teacher workrooms, storage rooms, as well as book storage, and as well as, you know, the storage that's allotted for it within classrooms itself. We also heard back from the community. You know, we still, like I said, we're still very conceptual, so that's something that we have kind of flagged for ourselves to develop as we move along. But the need to have some exterior storage that can be accessed by the community, not only for the community garden, but, you know, just for having all the landscape equipment stored as well.
Okay, great.
Do you want to show them that on the floor plan, that isometric we have? Yeah.
So Edgar, if you can point to this highlight, that's I don't know if you're trying to mark, but that's the stage storage. Then kind of down the line a little bit, you have that room there that, well, some of that is shelter functions, but one of those big rooms that you see down there, that becomes storage for the gymnasium. And then you have another smaller storage room toward the corner there on the other side. And then under the learning stair, that becomes all storage space. That's the book storage area. And then next to it, kind of a long room that opens to either end, that becomes a teacher workroom storage area.
Great. From Facebook, let me get a couple of these Facebook comments in. Between dismissal and pickup, students are outside and the teachers manage pickup. Is there room for students outside post-dismissal in prep for pickup? And is there any covering or like rain protection, sun protection for bus pickup and drop-off area?
The answer is there is protection. The media center itself is overhanging the building, so it creates probably what we're looking at right now schematically is a 6-foot overhang. And then you have that big long canopy along the front of the building. And then on the back side, you have that tall, oh, there we go. So the media center that you see there, it actually overhangs the volume of the administration spaces. So you've got a nice kind of covered overhang as well as that canopy that comes out, creating some more protection. And then on the other side of the building where the bus drop-off is, there is that kind of tall canopy in that side.
Another comment from Facebook, the clinic has a wall of windows looking out over the courtyard, which is great for the kids and great for the nurse. Will that continue to be true in the new building? Or have we gotten that far yet?
Haven't gotten that far. Right now, that admin suite, if you'll notice on that plan, is just a big box, but definitely what we're intending is to keep everything as much glass as possible. So the idea is all that volume that you see there open with glass, we would keep it. Hopefully what we can do is put some more, copy rooms and storage rooms that are associated with it, with administration up against the inside of the building, and maximize the occupiable spaces with the glass.
Right. Okay, now back to the chat room. We have a number of questions and comments. Someone asked about the acoustic treatments in the cafeteria. They're a little bit concerned about, because the kids can be rather loud, and they're concerned about the height and the amount of glass as far as how that will cause acoustics.
Right. And like you see on the photographs below, and I agree. I mean, cafeterias are going to be live spaces. They're going to be fairly loud because you're contending with having washable, durable materials for the function, and then you also want the acoustical properties. But what we'll end up doing is incorporating acoustical treatments on the ceiling to help and the walls that we have to help absorb that sound and hopefully mitigate that as much as possible.
Okay, there's a question again about the gymatorium, and this is just an FYI, I guess, in thinking about planning. And this may very well may go back to the principals for our scheduling classes. The comment is that we have students who are in orchestra while their fellow classmates are at PE in the gym. So would the orchestra then rehearse, I guess, in the music lab, or is there a way to shut off the stage so they can use the stage? And I'm thinking that may actually go to the details with the principal as far as scheduling spaces and times.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct, Ms.
Okay.
Bell. That's more of a logistics thing going on our school side. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, no problem. Thank you. Someone commented they love the look of those stairs. They just want to make sure they're safe and wide enough so kids wouldn't, accidentally tumble down and play on them.
Yes,
Okay,
that is the intent.
okay. Just so we're going a lot of different things. This is, again, a lot of these comments and questions about orchestra and music instruction, Principal Carter. So we'll make sure that you get that's something that you will handle on your end, and certainly staff and parents feel free to reach out to him as we get closer to the end of the time period to get clarity on how that will be scheduled and handled. Someone asked about where's the plan for voting and where will we vote without there being an auditorium. So this is about elections and about the use of the building for elections, because DeGolyer is an elections site. So would there be a space in room where one can still hold elections without being in the auditorium? That's another consideration. And I'm assuming one of the there may be something else that one could access, is if you want to comment on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know logistically how administration would want to set that up, but there, like I said, we're going to have a direct connection from the gymatorium to the exterior of the building, so they could definitely use that space when voting is happening.
Yes, Mr. Diaz, I think this is a logistical question as well that I'll take as we move closer and closer.
Okay. And thank you everyone for sharing those logistical ideas. Again, this isn't there's a lot of things in the fine tuning, and we all know that the devil is in the details. So thank you for making those aware and putting them at the top of the priority so that when the principal is working with the design team, those issues can be addressed. I think pretty much great compliment. Thank you, Ms. Strand, for joining us. Great job, Keiko and DISD. This would be a wonderful for our kids and a great improvement to our neighborhood. And thank you so much for joining us and participating, Ms. Strand. We appreciate hearing your voice and having your insight during the process as well. With that being said, Mr. Alfred, you want to let us know next steps and where we're going from here, what we can expect next.
Thank you. I enjoyed this conversation. I enjoyed, seeing the design again. And we have some challenges ahead of how to combine that gym and dolphin logo, but I'm sure Roberto will figure it out. So, and that is our next step. We're going to take your comments and meet with our architects and try to come back to you guys probably sometime in February with a presentation of the design. In between that time, Roberto and his team will be meeting with Mr. Carter and a few of the teaching staff to talk about the interior spaces and get comments and feedbacks as we fully develop that interior. So Mr. Carter will kind of lead that group, that small group of different academic individuals. So great job, guys. Love the feedback, enjoyed the conversation, and I'll see you guys next year. Ms. Bell.
Okay, great. Okay, we have one other question coming here. About public bathrooms before we go on break. It was let me find the comment. One of the concerns from the last time was having public bathrooms so the adults in the building and adult visitors to the building could have a place to use the bathroom. So was that addressed in the design as well?
Yes, there will be adult restrooms assigned in the building.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
And I believe the executive director for this particular for DeGolyer, I think Mr. Cordova had to log off, but he did want to share these comments. He said, I have to log off at this time. Thank you so much, everyone, for your collaboration and input. Thank you, Mr. Carter and Dr. Flores, for your leadership and support in this process. The building designs look beautiful and we are excited. And thank you, Mr. Cordova, again, for the leadership you provide to the elementary schools in that particular area. So with that being said, Dr. Flores, if you would like to make any closing remarks.
Sure. I just want everybody, thank everybody for participating. This was great. We had great feedback, and the community, I think, coalesced around some great ideas and some great designs. So I'm very excited about next steps. Hopefully the next time we will be able to meet at least in person, and hopefully still also virtual for those who want to participate virtually. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in person. Thank you very much.
Great. And thank you again, Dr. Flores. And finally, last but certainly never least, is the amazing principal for this great school, Mr. Carter, with your closing remarks now.
You give me the best intros and outros. Tell you what. I just want to thank everyone again for coming to this event, sharing your voice. The building looks excellent. We really like the design, super excited about what this will mean for our community and for the future of our students. And so with that, everyone have a great night. We'll have these recordings posted in our band tomorrow for anyone who wasn't able to be here tonight. But again, DeGolyer strong, DeGolyer proud.
Thank you so much. And following up on what the principal said, this meeting has been recorded, and the presentation as well as recording of this meeting will be posted at www.dallasisd.org/bond2020. And on that site, you will also find a project page for DeGolyer, so you can always keep track of this and past meetings and other comments there. So again, on behalf of Dallas ISD Bond and Construction Services, we thank you for joining us tonight and wish you a wonderful evening. Good night.